Good afternoon to everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies. My name is Marge Mardisalu-Kahar and I'm the director of Estonian Center of Eastern Partnership. And I know it was announced that we will open this panel together with Georgian president. I just got a call that he's still stuck with the Prime Minister's office, so I'm not sure whether he will be able to come by. But we will start, nevertheless, now with our panel on Eastern Partnership. Well, very happy to welcome you all here. We have the representatives of Eastern Partnership countries present. I think our today's topic, Eastern Partnership within the framework of freedom of online, is as relevant as it can be. I heard the welcoming speeches during today's opening panel, and indeed, as we heard, all the Eastern Partnership countries are very relevant in this regard. I'm very happy that we are able to conduct this together, our center, Estonian Center of Eastern Partnership, together with Estonian e-Governance Academy. This is one of the many events that we are doing together, and we have Miss Liia Hänni from Estonian Center of Estonian e-Governance Academy, who will moderate the session. We also have very good cooperation with our neighbors in this field, and I'm very happy also to welcome Mr. Olof Ekorna from Sweden, who will give his reflections on this topic at the end. I'm also very pleased to tell you that this study that some of you will find on your tables, that has been conducted by the Estonian e-Governance Academy, has been to a very large extent financed by Finnish Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That are also very good and close cooperation that we have with them. One of the central findings of the study that Liia will present to you very shortly is that in order to be effective, in order to be able to reach our objectives when it comes to freedom, online, open governance, data protection, the most important, or one of the most important prerequisites, is the political commitment from the partner country. And in this regard, I'm of course very happy to see that we have Georgia and Moldova as members of the coalition. I see Moldovan Vice Foreign Minister is among us, and 5 out of 6 Eastern Partnership countries are also taking part from the Open Government Partnership. And yeah, basically this is it. So I hope we have a fruitful discussion. And who knows, maybe also Georgian president will come by. And I will, with those words, hand over now to Liia and wish you all a successful panel. Thanks.
Thank you, Marge. Dear participants of this important session, what a nice picture to have all Eastern Partnership countries here with us. It is indeed a pleasure and of great interest for me to be here today and to moderate this discussion, which is, I think, very relevant indeed for this conference. Do you know all what open government partnership actually means? Maybe because it's still quite a new international initiative, I need to explain in a couple of words what does it mean and how it is relevant to the topics we discuss during this Internet Freedom Conference. When Marge came to me and we were discussing what may be this common issue to discuss during this conference, I immediately reminded about the Open Government Partnership, because this is an initiative I found extremely interesting and useful for electronic democracy and democratic governance, because it is exactly an initiative to support those governments and civil society organizations who are reform-minded to take new commitments in order to enhance participatory democracy. I made some slides, and let me show you these basic ideas of open government partnership. It is, first of all, to increase the availability of information about government activities. It's about transparency of the government. The next important principle is support of civic engagement, and again, internet can provide great opportunities to enhance civic participation in policy making. The third option is fight against corruption, integrity of public administration, and all three important parameters of good governance can be enhanced using technology. What is characteristic for this initiative is that it is not enough to recognize these principles of good governance, but also governments should take commitments to follow and to implement these principles. And it means that governments really need to show in action that they honor these basic principles. And this time here is very relevant also to have a look how this initiative has worked, what kind of benefits citizens have received because of their governments are members of this initiative. From Eastern Partnership countries, 5 of those countries joined Open Government Partnership 2012. Unfortunately, Belarus is not yet meeting this threshold characteristics to be invited to be a member of Open Government Partnership. But I believe that this is also encouraging initiative for people from Belarus. And now we have a 2 years period from the beginning of our joint journey to implement Open Government Partnership initiatives, and there is time of reporting now. And just a couple of months ago, all countries, including Estonia, we had a reporting on what kind of results Open Government Partnership has brought to our people, how our government had been able to implement what they were committed for. And therefore, indeed, we can have a look and to ask from ourselves, has Open Government Partnership offered us what we expected as civil society when we encouraged our governments to join the initiative, and how to go further? Since just now there is a second round of action plan prepared by all our countries, and definitely it's very interesting to share experiences how it will be. But now, very briefly about this report. You have on your tables, and Marge mentioned that we conducted an analysis about how is information society and e-government development progressing in all Eastern Partnership countries. And for this survey, as always, for this kind of analysis, we used different sources available for us, but most valuable sources were people and experts from Eastern Partnership countries, and some of them are here with us today. And thanks to them, we got quite a good picture how things are going on with countries' e-society or ICT strategies, e-government and electronic services development, e-democracy and open government. What was my task to make some kind of analysis how things stand, and cybersecurity and data protection. It's not an opportunity for me today to present findings for all these areas, but still e-democracy and open government analysis is very relevant for our discussion today. And what was the questionnaire about is access to public sector information, access to decision-making processes by citizens, policy administration. It means, is democracy somehow inbuilt in public administrations? And also we were curious about how ready is civil society to participate in the democratic processes within the country. And basic findings now. First of all, this study provided very clear evidence that in all Eastern Partnership countries there is a strong commitment to develop use of technology for society and also for the governance. Secondly, we can see that there is also policy documents and clear willingness to implement ICT for electronic governance. We studied other all preconditions in place in order to have successful electronic governance, and still we can see that the basic foundations of good electronic governance, like digital resources of information, interoperability of information systems, security issues, still need further development in order to have this basic infrastructure in place in order to have really modern and useful electronic governance. And of course, what we noticed is that also in Eastern Partnership countries, governments care more about back office modernization and providing electronic services to citizens. But if we have a look on democracy component of the government, it may happen that it's not so important still for the government as it should to be. And regarding open government partnership, we can see that this is still a main instrument in Eastern Partnership countries to have some kind of vision of democracy development using ICT. So we find that open government partnership is really very relevant initiative if we want to achieve better governance using opportunities offered by information society. And of course, our recommendations to European Union partners and other international donors is to support open government partnership initiatives to facilitate civil society to be a stronger partner for the governments in order to have a good action plans and to implement the action plans as planned. So this partnership of OGP or Open Government Partnership doesn't mean only that governments and countries are partnering on international level. First of all, the results of this partnership depend on local or on national level, how governments and civil society can work and are ready to work together. And this is what we expect to learn from today's discussion, where we have 6 countries here, and we basically address how open government partnership is supporting online freedoms. Such important freedoms as freedom to access information resources of public sector, and secondly, how governments and environment supports electronic participation of citizens in decision-making processes. Electronic participation of citizens is very much connected with freedom of expression, because we can expect a free word from citizens only in case there is no fear, there is guarantees that freedom expression offline and online is granted in the countries. But now I think it's enough from my side, and I will give the floor now to our representatives from Eastern Partnership countries. I think we will start from this wing here. Are you ready? Ukraine, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Ivan Presnyakov. I do represent Ukraine, and I also have a colleague here, Alexei Khmaro. So if something goes wrong with my presentation, he always can help. Let me tell you about some problems that we have, not about that much about the progress. First, we may say that in Ukraine we do have a lot of infrastructure for e-governance, for e-participation, for e-democracy, and we always do have something to report on. We have something on OGP plan. We implemented actually something. So I was writing the IRM report for Ukraine, and it was pretty good. It was around 60, maybe 70% that we did implement. So we do have e-registers, we do have e-petition systems, we do have e-signatures, we do have a lot of stuff that actually we can say that, okay, we have plus here, plus there. But then when we go inside and when we see how this system works, we see several critical problems. For example, this e-signature system. We actually found out that there are 2 or 3 bodies that issue e-signatures, and these signatures are not compatible with each other. And that means, for example, that if you want to have e-service provided by different government agencies, you need to have 2 or 3 signatures. And if a government official wants to deal with e-document management system to work with some other agency, so these 2 systems are not compatible, for example, because these e-signatures are not compatible with each other. We had a huge scandal with registers, with online registers that are run by a Ministry of Justice. This was a huge issue in 2013. The problem was that a new minister came, and it became publicly available, this information, that Ukrainian government, Ministry of Justice, spent around $100 million per year to pay as a royalty for those guys who developed the software for registers that are public, that are run for public, and people can find information online from these registers. So basically it means that we do not have like so Ministry of Justice ordered this software, and they built some kind of a scheme how to pay for this, and in this way they just laundered around $100 million per year on this system. Also the problem is that the registers from Ministry of Justice, they are not compatible, and there is no interoperability of these registers with those that run, for example, with Ministry of Interior, etc. So each body runs some pieces of infrastructure for e-governments, e-services delivery, and these pieces are not always compatible with something that is run with other bodies. We also had a part of the OGP commitment was to provide services in electronic format. And this was done through nationwide portals and also regional portals. I personally found out that these 2 tasks, they were very much duplicating each other. So we had kind of a competition. On the regional level, we had regional portals on Dnipropetrovsk region, Kiev region, and they were developed some frameworks, they were developing some tools to provide services for the people from these regions. And we also had a task for the Ministry of Economy to give a nationwide platform, nationwide portal for delivering e-services, administrative services in electronic format. And we found out that regional portals actually work better, but we still have this site that is called Nationwide Portal, and they still ask for money to develop this site. So this also presents a big problem, and we do not know how these two will connect to each other, or what should the government do to support regional portals or to go with other. So the big problem is that we have this coordinating body that is called National Center for E-Governance. But and a lot of committed people work in this body, and they know a lot about e-governments, e-democracy. They can spend a lot of time telling about this stuff in Ukraine, but they are the part of the state enterprise that is controlled by the state committee that is controlled by the Ministry of Education and Science. So you see, these guys, they are not coordinating government in this sphere at all. They are the force in this chain of command. So they know a lot about this, but they actually do not formulate policy, and they do not control, they do not coordinate policy for developing e-governments and e-democracy. And because of this, we have too many actors that play their own roles, and they have their own policy, and they spend their money in a way they want. And because of this, we do have, you know, several islands of this e-democracy, e-governance, but these islands are not connected to each other. And because of this, we actually, at this moment, I think this year, if OGP plan is being developed in Ukraine, and if e-governance and e-democracy is a part of this plan, we need to make kind of an audit of what is going on in this whole sphere. And we need to just, before taking any other steps, before taking any other commitments in this sphere, we need to make this audit to see what would be the strategy, what we need to do to connect these islands, maybe to have some kind of a sound policy that brings results, not just some, you know, issues to report on. So this, how it looks from my perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Very important. You stress the need to have a good coordination between the administrative units, and let's expect that open government partnership somehow requires this kind of better coordination. But because of time limits, let's list all speakers, and only then we can ask questions and make our comments what we heard. So please, it is Armenia.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Armenia,
I'm Liana Doidoyan from Freedom of Information Center of Armenia, NGO. And nice to meet you. Thank you for your attention, and thank you organizers for this great event. And I'm just going to speak about our initiative for Open Government Armenia, our NGO. And Armenia joined in this initiative in 2011 in September, and it was very new task for the government and for our civil society to work together and to develop the action plan. It's very unclear for us, and there was very little time to develop our first action plan, but the working group was set up, and officials and civil society representative was involved in this process. I was the working group member, and we developed our first action plan and presented in Brazil in 2012. So, and then the government started to implement these commitments for open government. And most our organizations suggested more than 12 suggestions for open government, for government commitments, and 5 of them were included in this action plan, and they were implemented. Mostly they were on access to information, that officials should train, and we support government because we have Freedom of Information Educational Center, and our experts working with government, with officials, and we organize trainings for officials on freedom of information issues. After that, so we started, me and our organization was the leader of this fair, and we started to organize dialogues between government and other civil society representatives. And in 2014, we organized a big conference, international conference on ODP issues in Armenia, in Yerevan, and experts from international organizations from Bulgaria, from Georgia, and from USA, and more than 100 participants were invited, and the Prime Minister opened this conference. And this means that in Armenia there was a political will to work open, and this initiative helps us to do some better things in this fair. But after that, in September, we started to work on the draft of second plan. And in this year, at the beginning of April, we organized another working meeting with government and civil society representatives to develop our draft of the second action plan. And we have already ready action plan, draft action plan, which need to be approved from government. But as you know, we have a political situation that we have new prime minister and we have new government. Yes, in Armenia, government has changed in 2 days. So the situation in this fair, because we haven't now ODP coordinator, and we have new prime minister, new staff, head of staff government. So we want to work in this fair and to push the government to work with civil society, because the main problem in Armenia is civil society participation, civic participation in government issues, or I don't know what his government is doing, and civil society is not aware. The information is mostly closed. So the situation is very unclear now in Armenia, but we hope we have passed a letter to the new prime minister with that we want to continue this process, and we hope that new staff, new government will continue the steps that will work in open and transparent government. So we hope we will have a good results. Thank you. If you will have questions, I will answer.
Yeah. Thank you, Liana. Simply from Estonian experience, a new government is challenging, but also an opportunity to make a step forward. So our new government in Estonia was more committed to open government partnerships than the previous one. So it's an opportunity for you. Our next speaker is from Azerbaijan.
Yes, thank you.
Please.
I'm Rena Safralieva, Transparency International Azerbaijan, and my colleague representing civil society, Vugar Bayramov, is here, and he may also want to add something. In my presentation, I will be using the solid data derived by Transparency Azerbaijan from 2 monitoring reports. We monitored the first year of implementation by the government of Azerbaijan of its obligations under Open Government Partnership Initiative. The monitoring was done by our partner with the help from our colleague from Moldova, Veronica Cretu, who contributed to the methodology. And also we monitored introduction of electronic services in Azerbaijan upon a methodology designed by Estonian e-Governance Academy. So very briefly. A couple of years ago, the very notion of open government was alien to a traditional Azerbaijan public official, because from his or her point of view, public data was a chest of gold to sit on and to abuse for personal gain. And the situation is changing, and the decision of the government to join the Open Government Partnership Program was quite a revolutionary concept in itself, because it's breaking the traditional officials' mental patterns and helps to cultivate new type of culture in the public service. The achievements are not outstanding so far, because the action plan was compiled by the government somewhat in haste. It was done in-house by the National Anti-Corruption Commission, who didn't see much difference between this action plan and the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan, because they duplicate each other. This action plan also duplicates the Electronic Azerbaijan program, focusing on the e-services, as well as extractive industries transparency initiative. So this action plan is not very good in an efficient action plan in itself, because it duplicates other programs. It doesn't have any measurable indicators to measure outcome. The time frame is too broad, because we don't have the concept of an annual action plan. It was one action plan for the whole duration, 3 months and 3 years. The action plan was adopted in September 2012 and is designed for 2012 till 2015. Anyway, achievements. Public officers started to introduce to designate staff responsible for access to information, public awareness raising, and develop internal regulations facilitating access to information and defining the volume of information to be delivered to the general public. In the first year, about 20% of the public agencies have accomplished this difficult task. Annual reporting. Our monitoring showed that about 60% of public agencies provide annual activities reports. Unfortunately, there are no single standards as to what shall be contained in those reports. The major challenge in the access to information is to institute the independent institution of information ombudsman, as was originally envisioned by the law on access to information back in 2005. Then the government made changes to the legislation and delegated this function to the Ombudsman on Human Rights. And the Office of the Ombudsman on Human Rights just doesn't cope with the task. They don't have financial resources, they don't have human capacity, they simply cannot combine both functions. So independent information ombudsman is an absolute must. Another achievement was the law on public participation. We have the law on public participation, which obliges the parliament to invite civil society in discussion of the draft laws. However, the law doesn't oblige the parliament to organize public hearings. So the parliament is not obliged to seek input from the citizens, though there are online tools available on the internet. Fiscal transparency is the most poignant issue, because very few public agencies place their budgets and budget execution on the internet. One of the few exceptions is the Chamber of Accounts, and there are practically no procedures to develop, discuss and monitor budgets of local governments or municipalities. In terms of electronic services, the electronic services as a system has 3 major components. First, electronic identification, and we don't have problems at this point, because originally we used a very complicated model which required a card reader and a special card, and then the government also designed a second option where you can get electronic identification using several of crucial documents like internal passport, driver's license, and so on. So no problems with electronic identification. And the electronic database, by and large, has been compiled. And the safe exchange has been ensured. Now, where the problem lies? The problem is operationability of those databases, because the country uses the X-road model, and there is no regulation which tells public officials, different public agencies, what kind of information they will share with whom. So they share information at their own discretion, which creates confusion with the public agencies providing all kinds of services to the population. Because one public agency has access to the database of the Ministry of Justice, so they can derive electronically birth certificate, and the other public agency doesn't have access to that database. And it's the Ministry of Justice who decides whom they share information with. So the operationability of those databases is very, very low. Briefly, and generally speaking, with regards to electronic services, we've built a building. It's been decorated, refurbished. Very few people live there. Because the internet literacy is mostly limited to the capital city of Baku. With the regions, there is great problem with access to internet, with internet literacy, so lots of efforts should be input in order to create an environment in the regions enabling people to use electronic services. Individual public agencies try to attend to this problem, because what they're doing now, they're creating big lobbies at their national and local centers equipped with computers and offering free access to internet. So it's rather ridiculous, but if you want, in a region, if you want to use electronic service, you go to the agency and you use their computer in their building to get access to the service. Сколько у меня времени? So I'm done on time. There is a lot of work to be done, and the most important thing here is the involvement of the civil society, not only in monitoring and evaluation, but also in the execution of the National Action Plan. And this is our major task as the civil society, because the government doesn't have much desire to invite us to the actual execution of the action plan. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Our next speaker is from Moldova.
Thank you, Leah, very much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Veronica Crețu. I come from Chișinău, Republic of Moldova. As you look on the slide, you have the Open Government Partnership. That's a global initiative Leah was talking earlier about. I am a member of the steering committee of this global partnership. It brings, by the way, today 64 governments from all around the world, and France was the last one. Anyone from France in the room? No, okay, but we have to congratulate France indeed for joining the OGP. About the Moldovan story, which is from my perspective a very inspiring and a very positive one. And I'm looking at the issues of both open government and online freedom issue from a number of perspectives. When we talk about online freedom, we have to keep in mind the broader internet governance related agenda. I've been a member of the multi-stakeholder advisory group to the Internet Governance Forum for the past 3 years, and actively engaged in the issues of internet governance ever since World Summit on Information Society back in 2005. So these issues of freedom of expression, online freedoms, and so on and so forth have been there for a number of years. You heard in the opening speeches this morning about the Net Mundial, the global event that took place last week in Brazil, during which the Brazilian government did sign the Marco Civil, the Internet Bill of Rights that stipulates a number of rights, including the human rights and online freedoms and so on and so forth. So there is a lot happening on the internet governance agenda or arena, which is very relevant for the Open Government Partnership, and which we have to become more aware as we move ahead with our country's initiatives related to open government. Open Government Partnership is going to host in the upcoming 2 weeks 2 important events: Asia regional meeting and European regional meeting. And this is extremely important as venues to bring, representatives from member countries to explore and deepen and broaden the engagement on open government. How how open government did affect Republic of Moldova. And I will briefly refer to some of the effects that joining this partnership has had on the civil society. But given the fact that we are talking about freedoms and about freedom in general as part of this Freedom Online Coalition event, there is a really positive news for the Moldovan citizens as we are talking today. And I would really love to take advantage of this opportunity, and as we have the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs in the room, I would really like to give like 30 seconds to share with you all what kind of freedom Moldovan citizens are going to live and have started to live already as of today. And then I will briefly share the bullet points related to how open government partnership and this platform has created more venues and more opportunities for civil society in Moldova. Mr. Minister, please. 30 seconds.
Thank you very much. I'm really honored to be here with you. We just had a ministerial meeting of the Freedom Online Coalition, and Moldova just was accepted in this club. And this indeed is a message of encouragement and acceptance in this club, and really is praising the efforts that our government in partnership with different stakeholders have undertook for the last years. Today really it's a moment of freedom for Moldova, not only because we are part of this club, but as well because today Moldovan citizens are really able to feel the freedom in reality, because as of today all Moldovan citizens are able to travel in the European Union without visas. And that's really a kind of a clear indication that European Union is opening doors to Moldovan citizens, not only through online, because we're quite active on that part, but also in reality. And we hope really that soon Moldova will further progress in this regards, and we will sign soon the association agreement with the European Union, which will be in June. And we hope that we will get enough support from all member states, political support for acceptance in this club, in the European Union. And really, we hope that the opportunities that we have in the online dimension will help us indeed, because again, internet is the future. Internet is the development, and is part of the development agenda, and it should be very clear for everyone. And freedom online is really part of our values, and really we should cherish it and ensure at the same time the secure dimension, because these days we are faced with different challenges in the region, in the context of the regional context and environment, where propaganda and manipulations are part of tools of basically pressure and the influence. So we have to ensure that one, freedom is made available to everyone. At the same time, we have to make internet as secure as possible. And I must tell you that Moldova is one of the among the top countries with the fastest internet in the world, and the cheapest one as well. So we are among the top 20 countries in the world. We have the basis for it. We have a good partnership. We have good agenda. We have a strategy for 2020. We are not yet with e-identity, but I really, being here in Estonia, knowing that Estonia has a good experience into that, we are already following that example very much, and we hope that soon we will develop our e-governance agenda through e-identity as well. So thank you very much. And one more news is that since next month, Moldova will be one among again the first countries in the world which will implement e-visa for other countries, because Moldova is a quite small country, so our diplomatic representation and consular representation is quite modest, but we would like to make Moldova open to all of the world, and through e-visa that will be possible. Thank you very much.
Now,
Thank you,
Leah,
and
I think I got
yes.
like less than two minutes.
Yes, congratulations
Okay, thank you.
to Moldova, and please continue.
Yeah, thank you very much. A number of key aspects related to what has been at the basis of the Open Government Partnership for the Republic of Moldova. Before we joined, actually, back in 2010, the government of Moldova has launched a very ambitious e-governance transformation agenda, which is actually aiming at improving the service delivery, bringing all the services online, and a number of many other things. So in addition to this, we had also have an enabling legal environment because we did have the law on access to information. We had the law on transparency in decision-making process. So these were kind of the core elements that did foster or did enable both the government and civil society to further pursue and really join the Open Government Partnership. And as I shared before, we'd like to stop at a number of things that the partnership brought as a value for the civil society in Moldova. As my colleagues were sharing, indeed, each and every single member country, once signing the Declaration for Open Government, has to come with an ambitious action plan, national action plan on open government. Moldova had its first action plan approved in 2012, and as part of that action plan there was a recommendation that a civil society working group is created in order to be able to monitor the implementation of this agenda. I'm coordinating the civil society working group in Moldova, which is part of the National Participation Council, and it brings together representatives of civil society who are interested and eager to explore the full potential that Open Government Partnership could bring to them. As part of this working group, we managed to build some capacity amongst the civil society representatives on open government. We have to be really careful when we talk about open government. We should be careful not to misinterpret it, because open government does not stand for e-government. E-government is one of the core elements, is one of the pillars, but open government is much broader in what it provides and what it offers. So there has been a lot of capacity building for the civil society colleagues in order to explain them and to take them through this journey of understanding and knowledge sharing about what open government really stands for as a concept, as a philosophy, if you want. Due to the fact that we joined Open Government Partnership, we very soon, as a country, we joined the GPSA. I don't know if you heard about this, Global Partnership on Social Accountability. It's a global initiative that aims at supporting civil society organizations around the world, but you have to join as a country around the world to implement very specific social accountability initiatives. And actually we were lucky to be granted 2 initiatives, one on education and one in health sector. And this provides an opportunity for civil society organizations to really keep track of those open government principles, transparency, accountability, innovation, inclusiveness, and participation, and infuse, if you want, embed them in the initiative so that they also build the capacity amongst the citizenry, amongst the beneficiaries, to really, again, explore the full potential of the open government. We also, because Moldova is one of the few countries, just very quickly, is one of the few countries to have already approved its second action plan on open government. For those who are not familiar, OGP has been founded by 8 founding governments, and the 8 founding governments are actually already ready with their second action plans. And Moldova is the 9th one who has approved it. So very privileged from this perspective. In the context of the second action plan, we tried to have a more participatory approach. What do I mean by this? We addressed different sectors. We talked to the Ministry of Education and we tried to explain to them how open government principles could actually become real in the educational sector. How you build open education, how you build really through these principles the open-minded people, critical thinking, and you expose the beneficiaries of the educational system to, you know, understanding more profoundly, you know, what openness really stands for. We also contributed to the review of the framework on transparency in decision-making process. And Leah, you know this very well. We have in the second action plan a number of commitments that we co-assumed as civil society. We decided that the action plan on open government shouldn't be only of the government. Open government is about everyone, is about all the key stakeholders. So civil society has to also have a say in the action plan. So we committed, as a pilot, we committed to co-implement a number of clear commitments. They related to building the capacity of public authorities on the issues of open government and elaborating a methodological guidebook based on OECD OECD principles on citizens as partners, so that it comes as an enforcing element for the law and transparency in decision-making process. So we hope very much that we will manage to have those commitments come true, and we assume as civil society a very serious role in delivering on this. So just to conclude, I think it's very important to realize that today, in the very globalized and rapidly changing world, each and every single stakeholder has a say in the development agenda, and it doesn't matter that it's about the Open Government Partnership or Freedom Online Coalition or any other initiative. I think you need to have around the table the core stakeholders on equal footing, co-create, co-design, deepen and broaden everyone's engagement in the agenda. So thank you very much for the opportunity to share briefly on our experience, and I would be more than happy to answer any questions should you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica. I think we all can learn a lot how Moldova's enthusiasm works for good governance, and congratulations to your civil society for the success to have your agenda in the government action plans. But now, next speaker is from Georgia. Merab, please,
hello.
floor is yours.
I'm Merab Labadze, Innovation Education Foundation, but I'm also a lecturer in 2 universities in innovation and technologies in public administration. First of all, congratulations to Moldova to being the most enthusiastic reformer now, because Georgia was the same country 5 years ago. Now Moldova seems to be ahead of us in association to you and getting closer to that. But nevertheless, Georgia also has something to show in the process. Georgia joined OGP in 2011, and the first plan was in the second cohort, and the first plan was covering 2012 and thank you. Oh yeah, you can see there. 2012 or 2013. 4 chosen big challenges. To those who don't know, there are big areas named challenges where governments are committing their new projects or responsibilities. First of all, it was improving public services, then increasing public integrity, efficient management of public resources, and creating safer communities. Among the achievements, you can see there transparent state procurement electronic system, which is very advanced, and we happily can export it somewhere else. Then another concept, which is public service hall, a blended one-stop shop. Why blended? It's not a complete online shop, it's a physical one-stop shop. A person just needs to get there and receive all electronic services that state can provide. But related to the topic, better related to the topic, electronic declarations of public servants, and also citizen portal. And also comments and feedback on legislation, issues a legislative herald where all the legislative initiatives and laws are published, and the commitment was to allow citizens, general public, to comment on the existing legislation and so on. Another commitment was related to public information portal, which was called Data.gov.g, and NGO Forum, the mechanism of OGP obliges governments to go through extensive public consultations process. So results are mixed. I would say there are some achievements, but some challenges as well. And the main result is that it's difficult to say whether OGP contributed to better freedom online expression, because it was already there. And all those projects and commitments, as expert communities and the NGOs involved in the process would say, they were already started by the time that the government committed themselves to those projects. So they were not ambitious. They were about 12 commitments, and it's considered that 3 out of them were fully completed and some others partially. Big players here in the field are NGOs, big names, Transparency International, Open Society Institute, Open Society Georgia Foundation, some other organizations like Institute for Development of Freedom of Information. So it was kind of a limited circle of NGOs participating in consultations with the government, rather than general public getting more knowledge and knowledge about their opportunities related to the OGP. The government change happened in Georgia in 2012, and it appeared that the new government is taking better practical steps towards public consultations with NGOs and taking also further the OGP process. Currently, the new action plan is under development. It's still not ready, but the consultation process is designed much better than the previous one. More organizations are involved, and their meetings are held regularly, and the recommendations from the NGOs active in this field are better considered. The big step forward for Georgia was decree on proactive disclosure of public information of September 2013. Even before that, there were provisions in the administrative code in Georgia allowing anyone to request public information, and Georgian administration was actually quite good in responding to that according to different surveys. But still, decree on proactive disclosure of information was considered a big step forward. They are, and also there is electronic requests tools that are being currently implemented. So it's not necessary to go to the webpage. One can request the public information through electronic tools, and they are linked to the citizen portal MyGov.j, which currently is already fully operational. So one challenge I already mentioned, that commitments already were in the pipeline of other projects, and general public generally would not consider them as the OGP commitments, but just general government projects in this direction, achievements in this direction, rather than the commitment of the government in the OGP process. My MA students just recently have defended their thesis in MA related to OGP, which means that yes, the general public is getting more attention to that. So, and to their observation and their survey, they conducted this survey with online Facebook users. So only 27% knew anything, just heard about the OGP process, and even less, 22% knew that Georgia is a part of that. And even less people knew something about the Georgian commitment. So when we're talking about the civil society and the public awareness, it seems to be quite low. And there are new recommendations in the new action plan that the public awareness campaign should be launched. Again, unlike other fields where Georgians get the information when the TV is the best known source for the information, in this case, people who knew something about OGP and Georgian participation in that got this information from the internet, and only 6% from the TV. So there's nothing much in Georgian TV and media and press about the OGP process itself. About new commitments to be made, one is freedom of information legislation, and civil society organizations active in the field are quite actively consulting the government in that. And again, enhancing this OGP forum. Now, not only non-governmental organizations, but public agencies responsible for some commitment implementation are invited to the forum. Another commitment is financial monitoring of political parties and also municipal services. It was also agreed that the commitments which were not fully completed during the previous plan will be transformed and also presented in the new plan. But what about public online consultations? There was a commitment to create iChange portal, but it's still in the planning phase. So there were some technical background work done in the responsible ministries, but this website has not been launched. And currently, e-consultations, e-petitions, and these discussions are being discussed, and e-petitions are most close to the practical implementation. And out of models which are being considered, one of them is Estonian experience, and current portal osale.ee. But again, public is not aware about those opportunities and online tools, and selected NGOs and selected experts would know more about that. The same I can say about the legislation Herald, Matsny.gov.j. You can provide comments and feedback, but there are a limited number of users, and again, if you request the information, there is no obligation of the Ministry of Justice to further elaborate on those comments and reflect them in the legislation. So the comments are made, but there is no back office or no mechanism of getting them further to the legislation. or rejection or whatever, commenting and providing feedback. So again, very low usage rate. The same happened to MyGov Justice Citizen portal. Until recently, there were only 2,000 registered users, and only through Georgian e-identity card one could use this. But things are, as I said, getting better. So I hope the new plan gets more public attention. The consultations mechanism has been launched from March to April. There were public consultations in different regions. And I guess youth who is willing to get more information and get engaged, as the President outlined this morning, the engagement of citizens through internet, it could be another big task. So the mechanism would be known to more NGOs, more representatives of civil society and the general public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mirab. And it's really so that e-participation should be integrated with traditional ways to communicate with citizens. It doesn't work alone. It's so. Now we have Belarus still left, and sorry, Marina.
No, it's okay, just
you should wait, and of course, Belarus has a different situation because of authoritarian regime. There is a threshold to get inside open partnership club of countries, but we expect that one day you will be also with us in the OGP process. Please, Marina.
thank you. First of all, I would like to tell you that I find myself in a rather difficult situation after such an impressive presentations of my colleagues, and it's a pity that we do not have a roundtable discussion because I have so many comments and questions to my colleagues. But at the same time, I'm grateful to the organizers of this session because it was the reason for me to reflect on the open government and open government road for Belarus. And again, I'm grateful to my Moldovan colleague who has noted that open government and e-government are quite different things. And I would like to stress that I'm going to talk about open government exactly, not about e-government in Belarus, because in this comparative study you can find that the situation with e-government in Belarus is quite okay in comparison with the other countries of Eastern Partnership. But with the open government, we have a little bit different situation, and the situation is such different that I formulated the title of my presentation as will Belarus approach open government road? Though concerning e-government, we are on the track, and I think that we can catch up with the most improved countries. And again, the situation with open government and my contribution reflects the position of Belarus in Eastern Partnership. You see that here I represent eBelarus. It is a research initiative, and Lotrand is an NGO. And here is my colleague Ludmila Chekina, who represents business community. So we do not have government representatives here, and therefore we cannot talk about the real participation in the partnership. And this fact is due to the specific political context, because first of all, the government position in e-governance and especially open government, and this attitude is the attitude of command and control. Then the other thing, which is more important, I would say, a technocratic approach, or the so-called informatization, when the government officials think that it's infrastructure, which is the most important thing, and not the strategic thinking, not public policy issues concerning e-government. And the third thing, which is very surprising, is that our governmental officials tend to boast that we do not use foreign expertise or foreign funding, and we rely solely on our own expertise. But that is not true. We use foreign expertise concerning technical issues, and we learn much from Sweden, from Georgia, from South Korea and from Estonia. But these are the technical issues. These are not strategic issues. And again, these issues do not come as far as open partnership participation. And the general attitude of the government to the provision of information online is exactly provision of information, not access to information, and not participation in the decision-making process. In 2013, Lotrend conducted a survey of the public sector information presented online, and we studied the situation according the legislative requirements, the norms adopted officially, and it turned out that only in general, the governmental authorities present only 31% of information required by law, and not much. So even the provision of in this sphere, it is much to be done. But I should say that there is a great appeal for reuse of public sector information from the business community, because they do understand that they need this data to provide services, and the government can give this necessary data. And the electronic delegation of Belarus, as a part of Union of Entrepreneurs, was founded in Belarus has been founded in Belarus recently, and they exactly engaged in this lobbying the possibilities for reuse of public sector information for providing various services. The other part is the civil society initiative, Incitement to Open Data Movement. We have the movement Open Data, Data BY, and maybe you can see something here, but they made the information provided on the governmental website in the machine processable format, so that to provide open data and to work with them. We have the open data journalism, and we have our famous blogger Malishevsky, who used to work with this government data, and this Lotrend Center for Legal Transformation, which makes a lot to raise public awareness of this open data movement and popularizing open partnership initiative. So if you ask me, will Belarus approach open government partnership, I would say that it will. In the end, or in the long run, so because this is the general trend, and we will never avoid this trend. Maybe the government won't provide the politically sensitive information, and I do understand this is the partly open government, but still it is possible. But the initiative and impulses will go from below, that is from technical community, from civil society organizations, data journalism, and by the way, from the local authorities part, because they provide, some of them provide a lot of open data about their activities on their own initiative. But the real problem here, a strategic, I would say, issue is to combine all these trends, all these movements into one open data movement. And I hope this open data movement from below will increase the movement and will create the possibilities for Belarus to join open government partnership. And again, there was something said about the support for this open government partnership movement. I would say that maybe the support to this initiative, technical community, data journalism, civil society awareness raising activities will help us to move forward to open government partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Marina. Let's really hope that Belarus will join open government partnership community sooner than later one. But now we have some time left for questions and comments. First of all, other people who are here from Eastern Partnership countries wanting to contribute or to say something additionally to their colleagues. If no, oh, yes, there is. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Please introduce also yourself.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. From Embassy of Azerbaijan. Thank you, first of all, for organization of this conference and for all preparatory work have been done. Actually, I'm very pleased to see the main points highlighted in terms of the implementation of the joint program to which Azerbaijan also joined, and for implementation of those points on e-governments and e-services. Actually, that is, I'm very pleased to see successful work which has been done and reflected in the report prepared by the organization that is Comparative Study of Open Governance and Data Security in Eastern Partnership country, highlighting all those projects which have been already done or in the forthcoming years are going to be implemented jointly with our partners. I would like to emphasize a successful partnership on e-government project which are undertaken in Azerbaijan together with and with support of Estonian government. And related to this project, recently in Azerbaijan was established Asan service, which means Asan easy. That is, which makes easy access of all citizens to the e-services. And there are several offices of this Asan service. And in terms of those regions where, for the moment, there is no office of Asan, as I said, it was recently opened. There are field services which are available to those districts, again, to provide citizens with this relevant service. And would like to mention the conference in 2012 Azerbaijan hosted on Internet Governance Forum, multi-stakeholder meeting organized by the UN, to which various governments, NGOs, civil societies, and international organizations representatives were invited to discuss public policy issues related to the Internet. Would like to mention that in terms of the NGOs functioning in the country, the Council on State Support to NGOs under the auspices of the President of Azerbaijan was established, and the chair of this council is a member of the Parliament of Azerbaijan, who is directly representative of all NGOs functioning in the country. The legislative basis, which is also in force for the NGOs functioning under the legislative acts and decrees, so letting them fully function and to take part in the public life, in line with others in discussions and so on. Thank you.
Thank you. We have. Okay. Yeah. Yes, Ina. Yeah. Okay. Ambassador from Moldova, please.
Yes, my name is Victor, Ambassador of Moldova, Victor Guzun. First of all, thank you very much for organizing this event, and especially with the focus on our countries. And thank you very much for applauding my country for so many successes. But this could be impossible without your support. And as ambassador, I just would like to say thank you to Veronica and to our journalist and to Tatiana Sava, to our deputy minister, for putting this together and staying together and promoting e-governance agenda of my country, which is a clear priority, as you probably know. Secondly, to Estonian government, which placed Moldova as a priority country for cooperation for development. And in this country strategy paper, e-governance is one of these 4 priorities. So we try to make it even prioritize this e-governance. And e-governance academy, which is helping us to build this e-governance agenda of my country. And now from the state level, we will move to the next level. Actually, in May, from 5 to 9, we will have already the local administration, because I just wrote the report and I see that it's not so many projects in local administration. We'll try to fill it with the projects. And also the Eastern Partnership Center, which is always with us, good friend of Moldova. And I'm sure that all together we could organize even more events and to learn from each other. And sure, from Sweden. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Can I conclude that in Moldova, e-government is open government? Okay, thank you. Because Veronica just commented that we cannot confuse open government and e-government, but actually there is a very, very obvious link between these two. We want that e-government will advance open governance. So, other questions or comments? Oh, okay. Okay, we have, yes, of course, buses are waiting for us to take us to this very soon. Yes, of course, we have a summary and conclusions of our discussion here by Mr. Olaf from Sweden. Please.
Thank you. It has been a real pleasure to listen to the contributions and how things are advancing. I think that it is a very important observation that there is a difference between open government and e-government. Both are very important, but e-government will probably not be efficient without open government. And why? Well, I think that e-government, in order for people to take part in e-government activities, you need a basic trust in the government. You need trust that there is enough data protection, because data protection is a very important thing. And I think that is, to a certain extent, the next step that we have to take in the discussion. How do you actually combine efficient open government structures with the necessity to preserve the integrity of the citizens? And how do you get the citizens to trust the authorities when they are providing the authorities with the data that they do when they interact with the governments? This is an issue that we have in the private sector, of course, but it will also become an increasingly important aspect with regard to the public sector. And are you actually prepared to let your voice be heard if you feel that it is not okay that you criticize the government or the authorities, or that you say something that could be seen as criticism? So there is a very, very important element of democracy, freedom, openness in the government if you are going to be able to utilize the fantastic instrument that the electronic or the digitalization of public services actually can provide. I think it was a very good point that was made from Ukraine also about the stovepipes principles and the lack of coordination and the difficulties to preserve the interoperability between the agencies. This is not only an issue for countries like Ukraine, I can tell you it's also an issue for a country like Sweden. It was, of course, positive to hear that those initiatives with open government have been able to change at least certain attitudes in Azerbaijan. I think that there should be more to come in that sense, to put it mildly. But it's of course good that this is the possibility. To hear the Moldovan story is of course very, very encouraging, and we hope that it will be you will follow this path. I will conclude with saying that one of the crucial thing here is, of course, the combination of freedom to access information from public authorities with the freedom of expression and the right to privacy with regard to the governmental structures. And here we have to work in all countries to become even better than we are today. But the whole idea with the Eastern Partnership is, of course, to promote those ideas in the countries east of the EU that we are having here today. So let me just conclude that you should be aware that we are there to support you. And of course, we expect that you use this support in the way that is productive for your citizens and for your people. Thank you.
So now it is time to conclude our session. It was really a pleasure to hear all these presentations. I am, of course, very happy that Estonian contribution was recognized, and actually e-Governance Academy has had projects in all of your countries, and we hope to continue this mutually beneficial cooperation with Eastern Partnership countries and all other countries who are willing to develop modern, innovative, electronic and open governance. So thank you once more all for your presence here, and of course I need to remind you that buses will leave 4:45, and please keep your badges with you, because to go to the big tent of Google, we still need to identify ourselves, not virtually, but physically. So thank you, and Marge wants to say, okay.
Yes, thanks for my part as well to everyone. Thanks for participating, first of all, our colleagues from Eastern Partnership countries. And just picking up from Mariana, what you pointed out, that we need a roundtable discussion. So I very much hope that this would be one of the subjects that we will continue to work with e-Governance Academy to have a broader seminar or a roundtable discussion on that one. So good luck, and let's support the Eastern Partnership countries. Thanks.